Man, I tell you, I get excited when I come to this meeting. Does anybody get excited coming here? This is a refreshing meeting, and I think it's neat just to see how God is working through our society and through the different members, through the connections, and inspiring, encouraging each other, uplifting each other. And so I'm just all for it. I'm just excited. I wanted to let you know that. So my objectives here, I'm going to talk a little bit about engaging. How do you get involved if you haven't been involved? Certainly here, we hope you don't go home going, geez, I'd like to kind of, where do I start? If you're asking that question, pay attention. Don't fall asleep here. I don't have any financial benefits from the subject. So the question is, is there a spot for you? Does anybody need your skills? And how do you skin that cat? Should I go? And can you make a difference? Well, Tom Brokaw said, it's a lot tougher to make a difference than making a buck. And Betty Reese said, if you think you're too small, you haven't been in a bed with a mosquito. I think some of the questions you should also ask are a little bit a corollary. What are your intentions in getting involved in somewhere? Where do you feel called? Do your skills that you have right now, are they what you're going to need to accomplish the tasks? Do you have to upgrade somewhere? Do you need to learn some skills or languages? What do you have to invest in yourself to make a difference? And what are your needs around you? Locally, are you going to be getting involved there, or is this just all about international missions? And if you're not helping around locally, why are you wanting to help globally? Is there something special about that? These are the questions I think are at the heart where we all have to ask ourselves because we have different answers. So my objectives here would be to help identify resources for getting educated on global ophthalmology issues and your skill sets, how to get involved and engaged in mission opportunities, and how to connect with a community, a global community of ophthalmologists interested in service. My goal is for people to find their niche, for you to find where God is calling you, that you have special, unique gifts that I don't have or someone else doesn't have. And where's God calling you? Your family. You have connections with a certain agency in town. Whoever heard the story last year about the blood drive that Eric Bothan told, what a marvelous story about a local mission in Minneapolis and how powerful that is. And they've taken their life story and just merged it into the blood drive. That was touching to me. So that's what I mean by taking and finding your niche where God calls you. So in some of the different aspects of finding your niche is getting yourself prepared for challenges. So in specific, we're going to kind of hit global and international topics, but you need to be aware of skill sets and things like this that you may need to learn. And who do you want to work with? I've had some ophthalmology residents say, hey, who can I work with? I need a mentor for 6 months. And global ophthalmology fellowships are just at the beginning, really, and we're going to see that explode, I think. But there are more and more things. Mercy Ships had a thing with Glenn for a while, and there was a chance to upgrade your skill set. But going with someone as a mentor, as an apprentice, this is a long skill that electricians and cobblers, everybody's done this, so we're learning that. Finding an agency or organization that you respect. If you're not involved with anyone, the best thing is to use groups that have been involved and have expertise and have connections. That's going to get you further quicker. You need to take time to study about where you're involved in, whether that's in one country or the next, but you need to learn the local politics and geography, the culture. This is the stuff that takes a long time, and you can be a missionary for somewhere for many years, and you're still learning about that culture. This is a little overlap with the first one, but committing to skills transfer, this is actually not, skills transfer means I think missions is about committing not just to going and doing, but transferring your skills, like we're talking about the teaching and whatnot. That is responding to what the local needs are, not just what you have, but maybe they actually need a corneal specialist rather than a general ophthalmologist, and then maybe that's not your niche field. And so it's looking where your skills are fit for that. And then the last is repeating visits to support a program or clinic or a doctor, making those long-term relationships. Those are the things that really count down the road. And when you look at your life 20 and 30 years down the road, it's those that you've taught and those that you've mentored, and not exactly what you've done necessarily that counts in the long run. So I just want to give a couple perspectives. So this was actually some quotes from the speaker that I heard this week already that inspired me. So I thought this was great. If you're doing good stuff already, you need to ask the question, if what you did yesterday still looks big to you, you haven't done much today. That's just looking at yesterday. And if you say, you know what, there are just too many needs, I'm overwhelmed, then you need to think, I can't do all the good the world needs, but the world needs all the good that I can do. And the good news is that your impact is certainly more than just being an ophthalmologist. It's not just limited to the number of patients you operate on. It's way greater than your role in being a surgeon. As we've heard this morning, you've got kingdom impact, and that's huge, and that's good news. And I loved what Dave was saying about being a leader, because it's really true. The leader sets the tone. And I remember a mission trip that I went on where I was downtrodden, and I was the leader. And I was downtrodden because nothing had gone right through customs, and we couldn't get our doctor in country, our microscope was lost, and all these different things were happening. And I finally got to the clinic with no sleep, after traveling for hours and down in northern Ecuador, and I was beat. I was the only surgeon because the other surgeon didn't make it. And finally, when he made it, after going through 17 different airplanes, and he made it, and he was there for 2 days, his presence as a leader, we felt God's Spirit there just from the way that the way he brought God into the operating room. I was too frazzled to do. So as I said, as a leader, your impact upon the people that you're with, the trip participants, and with the local doctors, those patients, it has a huge impact. So I've been looking at this COS as God's Army of Ophthalmologists. I just get super psyched when I think about what God's doing through our society and the connections we have and the friendships. And I think about, all the army we've got through the world. You've seen Ben and Steve. Tim Fincher's here, so visit with him. He's from the United Arab Emirates. Jonathan Pons is in Swaziland. Tim Keatsman has spent years in Pakistan. We have a Scott and White grad, Nate Hinson, who's in Peru, and John Cropsey is starting a great thing in Burundi. We've got John Clements, who has been in Angola. Michael Seward, one of my partners, is in New Guinea long term. And Eustace Pennicook, who is registered, I don't think he made it, is in Zambia. But there are others as well. This is not an exclusive list. But it just excites me when I look and see how we can impact the world. And look at this. Look at the short-term list. I mean, I can't begin to list all the different doctors, but it excites me when I see people who are passionate about an area, and see what Brad and Lloyd are doing in China. That's exciting, and look what Scott and John are getting encouraged to do in Ethiopia, and you've got people who are faithful like Dan Gold, who's here, and he travels many places in Central America, and he's just been involved for many years. So talk to him. You've got veterans like Dan Graydon, who've been lived in Kenya for many years and are now back, and he's still being involved. And so we have just a huge army, and I just think it's so cool. I get psyched about it. So I have to share that. I want to get you guys excited to touch base with these people who are good, inspiring people. So let's talk a little bit about changing face of missions. Missions is not like it used to be. It's not like in your grandpa's day. The world's changing, and the cell phone has changed the world along with the internet. And ministries of health aren't necessarily excited to see you. There's more national surgeons in terms of these short-term things. So we've heard a little bit about this. Here's some of the traditional things of the way we think about missions, going and doing. And really, we know that there's a lot of new faces. We've been talking about that this morning, about supporting, connecting long-term relationships. The old model looked a little bit more like this. How are we going to find a place to go? Mainly as word of mouth. Well, we've got a lot more tools now to connect with people and find people to connect that are in the country that you can work with. what tools do you have? Do you have the right tools for where you're going? And here's the good old days of customs. Hey, come on in. We need your help. And here's today's customs. So here was your bags back then, and here's your bags now. So there's just a few things that have changed. Short-term missions are really quite a lot of work, and they can lead to burnout. They're difficult. Here's the supply of ophthalmologists in many countries years ago, and now the supply of ophthalmologists is starting to change, depending on the country, certainly. But there's, you look in Cambodia, there's a few, it's growing, and so it's important to connect with those doctors and try to find the right connections. So we're going to talk about resources and finding an organization. I'll just explain just real quickly. We have Vision Outreach, which is sort of the mother organization, and it's been involved in manual small incision training and training trainers, and it's been involved since about 2000. Missionized Network started about 2006 as a need for, there was no centralized place to find information, and so it was sort of an original missions networking site, and through some of the support of Ascaris, we have launched Global Site last year, and it's widened this network a bit more, and we've done a little bit more. I'm going to show you a little bit more about that. But within Global Site, you can find a directory that teaches you all about mission agencies and what they're doing. Now, I just pulled out some of the Christian mission agencies here, and so you can see there's really a plethora of different agencies that some are represented here today. We have a little mission map that we support, and the mission agencies are able to go in and put their opportunities on this Google map. You can zoom in and hover over and read more about this. Just by hovering over, learn about the organization. You can look at it in a list form or a map form. So in the list form, you can hover over the eye and you can request information and talk directly to that mission agency. So that's one way to get engaged and to touch base with those agencies. So how about other things besides just finding a place that needs your skills? What about other resources? So we just launched this actually this week. As of 2 days ago, Missionized Network has sort of rejuvenated because we've got a lot of different resources, and we thought, it's important that we direct people to where the resources are. And so with that, Missionized Network has a brand new look. If you haven't been there, go there now and see what the new look, but it's really trying to connect. So in a sense, we're trying to be the directory or the hosting place to show this is where you go. And guess what? Christian Ophthalmology Society is right on the front page of Missionized Network. So we're directing to this awesome missions meeting to let people know, because how many meetings can you go to like this? And I think we have an outstanding meeting that we need to let people know. We want more people from outside the U.S. We want that to be well known. A new thing that launched this year is a resource that's also under Missionized Network that you can kind of see is Yo2Go. This is specifically a resource for residents, and it has some training directories. We've got some of the different fellowships online there. We're getting resident liaisons for every program in the U.S., and there's some funding opportunities on there. There's a forum that's just getting started, and so yo2go.org is your place for residents and young ophthalmologists. Launching, I believe we launched this last fall, is the Manual Small Incision Classroom, and this classroom has really more videos on manual small incision cataract surgery. We've got Aravind technique, and we got Dr. Hennig from Nepal. Dr. Strauss has some phenomenal teaching videos, really high quality videos that are all free online currently. We may start charging tomorrow, so get down there and learn what you can. So just kidding on the charging right now, but so anyhow, that's a new site, and really we actually have a very global audience on this site. We have a lot of manual small incision surgeons who are from probably 16 different countries that are starting to get involved with this site. And so anyhow, I invite you to visit that. Here's a new site that came out of University of Nebraska from Mike Feilmeyer, Opening Eyes, and they have a very well organized site that talks about what clinics are involved in certain countries. So you go to Zambia, you say, well, where are people in Zambia? Where are the NGOs? Where are the clinics and the providers that are involved in charity care and taking care of blind poor? And so it's got vaccine recommendations and visa requirements for specific to which country. So it's a well done site. You should visit that. Here's a new thing that actually has started to somewhat active. We have a Google group. It's called Global-Cataract at Google Groups. And we have about 60 surgeons on this. And so if you have a question about manual small incision cataract surgery and global cataract techniques, go ahead and ask that question to the group, and everybody gets that. It's like a listserv, basically. A couple other resources to be aware of. That this is the Himalayan Cataract Project Manual, has just been available for iPad, and it's free. We have a PDF of it, or you can get it on your iPad with the video and everything. It's right on the classroom site. So that's a nice resource. Look under the manuals. And then we've got the Aravind manual that's been released at least a year now on Global Site, through also available free on iTunes, and there's about 20 plus videos on that come right onto your iPad. So that's an excellent resource for learning, and that's on Global Site. Other good sources I just want to share about CyberSight, which still has some good stuff from Orbis. Certainly the Community Eye Health Journal is a good thing to read, and it's free online. International Center for Eye Health is sort of under the London School and Alan Foster's efforts. So that's got other resources. So my summary is, do you want to join the COS Army? Here's what you need to prepare: challenge prepared, open your life and your mind to God's call, study the culture, join an agency that you respect, help out, relinquish your will for His, major in the skill sets you need, and we need your long-term commitment. And you'll be part of that COS Army. A couple important things. I think this is also a reflection on this week for me, was just how important Thanksgiving is. That attitude of Thanksgiving in your day-to-day changes what people. It radiates the happiness that you have and draws other people. And Albert Schweitzer said, life isn't necessarily easy. It's harder for us when we live for others, but that's when we become richer and happier. And last quote I had is, good leaders, this is why, Dave, you just resonated to me about the leadership, is good leaders make people feel that they're at the very heart and not at the periphery. So keep in mind, you're the surgeon, but man, you're not the most important person. That team around you needs you to encourage them, and they need you to lift them up. And that's some of the lives that will be changed. And Gandhi had a wise thing, I think, when he said it's the quality of our work, not necessarily the quantity, that pleases God. So, thank you very much. I think we're going to... That's the word.